Today, we are diving deep into a top-secret diplomatic mission, one that just might pull the Middle East back from the edge of a new war. So, let's get right into it.
Tensions between the US and Iran have been sky-high for weeks, right on the verge of boiling over into a real conflict. But now, there's this surprising, totally secret meeting happening in Pakistan that could, change everything.
And this is a pretty big deal. President Trump is sending two of his top envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, to Pakistan for these back-channel talks. Their mission? Well, it's pretty clear. Find a way to cool things down before this whole situation spirals completely out of control.
Okay, so to really get why there's so much pressure on everyone sitting at that table, we have to rewind a bit. We need to look at exactly what happened to get us to this point. The road to Islamabad, well, it's been a bumpy one, full of tension and failed attempts at peace. Yeah, this didn't just pop up out of nowhere. We saw earlier talks fall apart, but the real conflict it ignited earlier this year. And then in just the last few weeks, things got really dangerous with major disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. That's a critical artery for global oil. And all that led to the fragile ceasefire we're in right now, which feels less like peace and more like everyone holding their breath.
And here's why this isn't just some distant, regional problem. The Strait of Hormuz is literally the world's most important energy superhighway. When it gets disrupted, it sends shockwaves through the global economy, immediately hitting oil prices. It affects what you pay at the pump. That's why the entire world has its eyes on these talks.
So who are the actual people in the room for this high-stakes poker game? It really boils down to three key parties, and each one has a very specific, very important role to play.
So for the United States, you've got envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both really close to the president. On Iran's side, their delegation is expected to be led by their very experienced diplomat, Foreign Minister Abbas Araqi. And then the glue holding it all together is Pakistan, stepping in as the neutral mediator, providing the space for this conversation to even happen in the first place.
Which brings up a good question. Why Pakistan? I mean, of all the places in the world they could have picked for these super sensitive talks, what makes Islamabad the right spot?
Well, Pakistan's role here is absolutely crucial. It's one of a very small number of countries that has managed to keep pretty stable diplomatic ties with both the US and Iran. So you've got this unique position, plus its strategic location, and the fact that it's hosted talks like this before, it really makes it the perfect and maybe the only viable middleman.
But, having a neutral setting doesn't magically solve everything. The disagreements here are fundamental. We're already hearing from Iranian officials who are saying that some of Washington's demands are just, and I'm quoting here, unrealistic. That's not just talk. It tells you just how big the divide is that these envoys have to cross.
So, with all that in mind, let's look at what's coming. What are the biggest roadblocks to getting a deal done here? And, maybe more importantly, what are the real-world consequences if these talks actually work, or if they completely fall apart? These negotiators are basically walking into a minefield of thorny issues. I mean, everything is on the table. The future of Iran's nuclear program, the huge U.S. military presence in the area, all the regional security alliances, and of course, the immediate need to get those shipping lanes open and secure. These are the exact same issues that have tanked negotiations in the past.
And the two possible outcomes here could not be more different. A breakthrough in Islamabad? That could mean stable oil prices, a huge drop in geopolitical tension, and a major boost for the global economy. But failure? That could mean the conflict gets even worse, leading to years of instability and some seriously negative impacts on the world's economy. The stakes are just massive.
So what's the feeling coming out of Washington? Well, officially, they're talking about cautious optimism. They've mentioned seeing some positive signals from Iran, but they're also being really careful to manage expectations, making it clear that a successful outcome is absolutely not guaranteed.
And that really brings us to the final big question. As these diplomats are meeting behind closed doors, are we looking at a real shot for peace, even if it's a fragile one? Or is this whole thing just a temporary timeout, a brief intermission in a much longer, more bitter conflict? Honestly, the answer that comes out of Islamabad is going to shape the future of the Middle East.